creating this consortium with all of the ecosystem that we have is to address the problems end-to-end.
Believe in challenging the fundamentals of how the energy industry operates. And
The theme for this year is innovation for impact. I think it's the. Firstly, thank you very much, early birds. I know by Chennai standards it's early. Hopefully, we'll be getting more people. Oh, we have about 850 odd registrants. This is barely a fraction of that. Hopefully, more will troop in. Once again, thank you very much. Thanks to all the folks over here. A very quick intro before I hand it over to others. I think it was about a year back that I walked into Satya's office. Satya is the chap. Yeah, there he is. Satya Seshadri is a faculty at IIT Madras. So, walked in and said, Satya, you know what? I have an idea to do a small event on climate startups and innovation. And he said, Narsi, can IIT Madras Energy Consortium be a part of it? I said, okay, but I was a bit skeptical. I mean, IITM is IITM, EAI is EAI. We are very different animals. Well, we went ahead. What was supposed to be a small event turned out to be CLIMAFIX Summit 2022. It was very successful. We had about 500 delegates, 200 startups, 100 investors. Well, so we decided to do it again this year. This year it's going to be larger. As I said, somewhere around 850 people we expect, 400 to 500 startups, about 100 odd VCs. That's pretty much every VC in the country interested in climate. So glad to have all of you here. The theme for this year is innovation for impact. And I think it's the most appropriate theme. We have, in fact, Ashok Jhunjhunwala. He epitomizes how to create impact from innovations, and the building you're sitting in is a testimony to what he has done for this. So I'm glad he is here as well. He will be giving the keynote. Next 2 days, everything we do over here is going to be around this. It's not about startups alone, it's not about investments alone, it's about impact, because climate action requires impactful actions, impactful innovations. Whatever we do today, tomorrow, will be structured around this, and whatever you guys do, so make sure that you feel free. We have a lot of things going on, number of sessions going on. Feel free to engage yourself with startups going to be here, investors going to be here. We have networking sessions. We have a lovely amphitheater not far from here. You can use that as well. About all these later. It's also, we wanted to keep the whole thing as informal as possible, myself, Satya, and Nikhil, because this is, after all, startups, innovations. Formality shouldn't come in the way of innovations. So we are not going to have much of a formal inauguration. In fact, you saw that there is no kuti valaka, nothing. That's at least a few grams of CO2 less that's emitted. Okay, so thank you very much once again. I'm going to get a couple of guys to come and talk after me. But before that, some protocols are useful. Super thanks to IIT Madras Energy Consortium for being the co-organizer once again. To all our sponsors, Nitish is going to talk. He has been the title sponsor. Last year, he is the title sponsor. This year, they have supported us all the way. We have quite a few other sponsors. I don't know if they are here, but they'll be walking in. We have people from Capital A, a prominent investor, venture fund, Anicat, another venture fund, Akshay Kalpa. Many of you are already consumers of this wonderful organic dairy brand. We have Urja Energy, Madhusudan. He does some excellent work in sustainable thermal. All these guys are sponsors. You will be meeting them along the way. Once again, pleasure having all of you. Next 2 days, I hope I meet as many of you as possible. And more importantly, I hope each and every one of you engage yourself, involve yourself, and go back so that we have at least started a platform that can create impact from innovations. Thank you very much. I invite Nitish. Why don't you come up, say a few words?
Good morning, everyone. This is just a word of thanks. And we at Illumini believe in challenging the fundamentals of how the energy industry operates. And very similarly, almost all of you here have a sense of purpose. but I think bringing different people from different backgrounds together for one simple cause, I think Narsi deserves a big, applause from all of us and a standing ovation if possible. Please. Now, I think he's done an incredible job last year and did a wonderful, wonderful job this year as well. So for people who haven't heard of Narsi, he's been a mentor to alumni, been a really, really good mentor for me personally, who asks a bunch of questions, who tries and challenges every chain of thoughts that comes out. So I'm sure he's going to do that for the next couple of days with all of you guys. So cheers to all of you for the next 2 days of learning, sharing, and hopefully taking home relationships that's going to last for a lifetime. Thank you, guys.
Nikhil?
I'll do it from here. Can you hear me? All right. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see all of you. I'm Nikhil Tambe. I'm part of the Energy Consortium at IIT Madras. We're working with industries on, path towards decarbonization. Looking forward to catching up with most of you, maybe all of you if possible over the next 2 days. And the reason for that is while we work with industries, a lot of our focus is on how to solve grand challenges in energy. But where the buck stops is at ideas, and the ideas are not necessarily all helping, or they are by themselves not effective enough. So we're looking forward to seeing how the startup community can come and do something which large industries have not been able to do. Open to hearing, challenging thoughts, maybe challenge some of our own conceptions in the area of energy. So look forward to it. Thank you very much, Narsi and EI, for having us over. And I'll hand it over to Satya to tell a little bit more about Energy Consortium.
Thank you, Nikhil. I'll keep it very short because you'll be hearing from me again tomorrow afternoon in a session. So the intention of creating this consortium with all of the ecosystem that we have is to address the problems end to end, a full stack approach from ideas to implementation and scaling of ventures. What we are here is the research park where scaling up and technology commercialization happens, and we wanted to tie it down to the university ecosystem where most of the research happens. And we are in the process of discovery. The CLIMAFIX 2022 was discovery because the reason why I said we'll do it together is I wanted to identify how many companies are actually there in climate tech and how many of them are in hard climate tech. What I call hard is things that require resources, things that require laboratory access, things that require expert support. So this year the theme continues to see how many more can we bring on board and make it open for you all to reach out to us to see how we can work and how we can support you all, and in some cases also help scale with all the venture support that's being available. So we'll talk more about it in the next 2 days. Now I'd like to introduce Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala, who's been a mentor and the founder of the Research Park, president of the Research Park, an institute professor at IIT Madras. Padma Shri, has done a lot of revolutions in the energy industry, starting with the telecom industry, now in the energy industry. And I've learned quite a bit about thinking slightly larger or even much larger from him, so I will allow him to talk about it.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Welcome to the conference and the summit, as well as welcome to IIT Madras Research Park. In case you have not visited IIT Madras Research Park earlier, find at least half an hour to go around. Maybe visit the incubation cell and other places. But it's a very unique place, since I'm a founder of this place and I'm kind of starting with a pitch for the research park. That is number one. I'm actually, this whole CLIMAFIX Summit, as I get to know more about it. Last year when it happened, I was not in station. As I got to know more about it, it's absolutely a wonderful and very important event of bringing the investors in this area as well as all the startups in this area to talk to each other. Hats off to the organizers, all of those who have conceived of it and are able to make it a big event. I'm told that many more people will come, but we still have a fairly large number of people. So glad to see such large number of people concerned about the climate and are ready to do all kinds of things. So let me start something which I think most of you already know, but I'll still give you some understanding, try to give you something which can put a context to this whole effort. First, I think there is little doubt that the GHG emission is hurting the earth, hurting this planet so badly. It's just a matter of time that there will be a total destruction. I can't pinpoint how many years, but you know, in Indian civilizational context, we say pralay, and I think we are moving towards that, and we're fast moving towards that. And if we are denying that, we are actually not seeing facts. It's very obvious that this GHG emission is destroying the earth. Then comes what can we do, who is doing, what can we do, etc., etc. Start with a very simple fact, something that actually I remember in 2016 and early 17, even talking to Prime Minister about this. And the number was, in terms of per capita GHG emission, India is only 103rd. In fact, he also told me that why we are not the contributor, so why should we make extra effort? But if you look at, forget about per capita and look at the total emission, we are number 3. We very often, we have to bring them in. So whether we like it or not, we are a primary contributor. We can talk about history, that doesn't help us. Here, we are hurting and destroying the earth. That should be very clear. Of course, US is a bigger culprit, China is a bigger culprit, we are number 3. But we also should see the way our GHG emission is increasing. As our GDP goes up, our GHG emission is racing even faster than GDP. And it's a matter of time. We keep talking about 2047, all kinds of things will happen. Much before that, we will become number 2 in terms of GHG emission. I don't exactly know what China is doing, but we will not be able to we will fortunately not contribute more than that, but we will become number 2. So whether I like it or not, it is our problem, problem number 1. The second very, very important thing, that as a whole we are amongst the worst sufferer of a climate event. There's a very large number of very low income people in the country. Now when things happen, for example, December of 2021, little extra rain was there in Chennai. And people who were living in high-rise building could not come to the road without a boat for 7 days. This happened in Chennai. 7 days, parts of Chennai. Now, those who were in that high-rise building could at least stay at their home with difficulty, but could manage. What happened to all those who were living in huts and nearby? And very large percentage of people, never forget that 85% of India's household today, their per month income is 25,000 rupees. They do not have means to protect themselves when a climate event takes place. So we are amongst the worst sufferer. In fact, I did a little bit of analysis, country after country. So it is not just that some country is contributing more. It's the top 1% who contributes to most of the GHG, almost 50%. And the bottom 50% are the ones who contributes probably a few percentage suffers. So I think this is a very serious problem. And I would go on to say today, without any hesitation, that India with its 1.4 billion population has a responsibility to take lead. And I think this summit will help us through that. Because what does it mean? There are three important things as far as I'm concerned that you need to do if you want to take lead. First, we'll talk about technology to help us move towards 100% green. That's the conference is about that. Now basically, I believe that technology comes in 4 stages. The first stage is what we do in our labs. In very small scale, we are proving the concept, we are understanding the theory, proving the concept. We are able to generate 100 watt hour of electricity and are happy. Green electricity for whatever means, and we are happy. That is a stage 1. By and large, the scientists are involved in that. That's a stage 1. This is fine. The stage 2 comes that if instead of 100 watt hour, if that battery, suppose we do a storage or 100 watt of electricity production or 100 watt hour of storage, if I have done that and made something wonderful, can I actually scale it to a gigawatt hour? And that's a stage number 2, which has 2 parts. We do pilots, we do large scale pilots to prove that it can really scale to gigawatt hour, because watt hour, 100 watt hour has no meaning, gigawatt hour. And when it scales to a gigawatt hour, it will make economic sense. So we are actually in stage 2, we are doing 2 things, and that's what we often forget. That's where most of the academia stops at stage 1. The stage 2 is you are making a statement, this technology, when scaled, will be economically viable. And I think this is the most, every entrepreneur also has to convince an investor that the technology that I have can scale, and when scaled is economically viable in the sense that I don't need any subsidy. It will make economic sense and people will accept it because it makes economic sense. So that's a second stage. Third stage is the stage where it is still not economically viable. It can become, because it's not yet scaled, and that's an introduction and breaking the market, making the market. That's where one needs some kind of support. One is venture support, which I think there are enough people here who are sort of saying, I'll bet up with you. Number 2, it requires some policy support from government, because yes, it's early stage, this is important for the society and we need to help you. And even various organizational support to sort of see that it starts breaking in. And then comes stage 4, where it is just scaling and it's economically viable and you really need nothing. For example, today, solar-based electricity, you don't need to do anything. I remember 20 years back, we used to struggling because it was not economically viable. It was not clear that it will become economically viable. Today, solar-based electricity or wind-based electricity, we will just go and deploy it. It makes commercial sense. Anybody who does it benefits out of it. On the other hand, however, if I take a wind plant, ocean-based wind plant put into ocean, is still not economically viable. It still produces, probably, I've done some rough calculation, will produce it about 12 to 14 rupees per kilowatt hour. Whereas solar plant in the will contribute about 2 rupees. The wind plant today is contributing about 2 rupees 75 paise. If you do offshore solar wind plant, it will be 12 rupees, maybe 14 rupees per kilowatt hour. And it's not economically viable, and we have to work to make it economically viable. So I think these 4 stages are very, very important. The entrepreneur comes in at stage 2, where saying that technology that was done, science that was done at the labs can scale, and as it scales will become economically viable, and that's the most important role that the entrepreneur plays. And that's where some people have to back them, bet with them, and that's where the early stage investor, venture capital, all of it comes, and those who do it right make benefit out of it. This research park is precisely for this stage 2. Not just for climate, but for all technologies is for stage 2. Take the thing out of lab and commercialize, scale it, and show that when scaled it is commercially viable. So if you bet on that early enough, you will win. And that's what we have done over the last 12, 13 years that we have been in existence. By the way, this whole research park itself was set up like a startup. We got some seed funds. Beyond that, we never got fund from either the government or from IT or from industry. We never sought any funds. What we did was we borrowed from bank at 11% interest. Well, bank lends you at 11%. We can't do much about it. And over the next 10 years, we have actually paid the bank full money. And today we are making cash profit. In the meantime, we have created about 350 startups. The value of these startups are around 50,000 crores. And we own 2 to 3% stake, 4% stake in the company when it starts. By the time of exit comes, we are down to 1% or even less, 0.5%. But that gives us, for every 5,000 rupees we invest, it gives us 5 crores. And that's how we run the place. And there are many, many such things that we have done. That's the reason I'm asking you to go around. What we actually need to do this, we have done some startups in the climate area, but barely done that. I think that is what is needed. So the main point that I want to make is that this is extremely important criteria, important thing, because the world would otherwise end. The people who are trying to make every technology scale and economically viable are playing extremely important role. The people who are betting upon them at early stage and are putting in their own money are playing a very important role for the society. That's number one. The second point that I want to make, and though not directly relevant to this conference, but it's important, that first I start by sort of saying, whatever I have seen, the enthusiasm that I have seen among scientists, among technologists, among the startups, and among the investors, I think by and large, I can talk about India, before 2047, we'll have all the solutions which are economically viable. We can then do energy efficient, and that's the number one. And number two, make sure that all the energy comes from things like solar, wind, or other non-fossil fuel based. And we can certainly not emit GHG emission. We will be certainly could be carbon. Technologically, we will be ready by 2047. Where will the problem come from? The problem will come from what I will say change management. The problem will come because there are existing players who have invested so deeply in the technology which is dependent on fossil fuel and which contributes to GHG emission, that they are going to be obstacles for change. For example, a coal-based power plant. You know, the number of coal-based power plant in the country has doubled in their capacity has doubled in the last 10 years. Which means fresh investment has come in. And most of them are operating at 50, 60, 65% plant load factor. Then, because there is excess today electricity in the country. Therefore, they are not recovering their investment. They will stand in front of anybody who are looking for change. They'll find either direct ways, sometime indirect ways, sometime by arguments, sometime by all kinds of means to stop. I'll say the same thing happens to all the conventional vehicle manufacturers who have not switched to electric vehicle. I remember, now 2017, I was trying to drive the electric vehicle policy in the country from Delhi with the government. The obstacles actually came from all the companies which has not decided to move rapidly towards electrification. They'll all stand. They'll use all kinds of things. They'll use the term we can make hybrid. I don't know what does it really mean. You are still using fossil fuel. You are in fact doubling your cost because you have a engine for fossil fuel. You have also electrical. I don't understand that. But all kind of obstacles are put to sort of slow down. So they will slow you down. I'll say, let's forget about these companies. What about all the coal mines that we have in the country? And where are these coal mines? The coal mines are in Orissa, Jharkhand, Bihar, bit, Bengal, whole of Northeast. And look, this is the region which is the least developed, economically developed in the country. And these coal mines have been auctioned and given off to them in 2015. And it employs a large number of people. What will happen to that if coal mines shut down? Are they going to keep quiet? So they will stand against change. And very natural, they have to survive. It is not that they are rich people. I mean, a person working in coal mine, basically the work is a very tough and horrible work giving you very little returns. But it's their livelihood. They have to survive. And therefore, they will say, no to solar. And if you see, all the development of solar and wind is happening in South India and West India. So you will also see regional problems. This is all these, and I can talk more about it. These are the obstacles that India will face to move towards 100% net zero. And this is the task of the government, to do the change management. And it has to be very, very carefully done, because frankly speaking, you can't ask all the coal mine workers to just buzz off. You have to create alternate industry, re-employ them, figure out how to fix things and do that. Not just coal mine, our Maharatnas are all oil-based oil companies. What is going to happen to them? Are they going to keep quiet? They are investing a little bit here and there, but not enough. So the change management is going to be the difficult. Are there startups which are looking at the change management? I haven't found some good ones. I haven't found investors looking at, can we invest in those companies which are looking at change management. But change management will be another opportunity, an important one. I would say yes, it's a responsibility of the government, less of a tech, more of a management kind of company which can understand and manage this whole transition, and transition will be very, very difficult. My last couple of minutes, there is a figure that I could have shown, I'm not showing that. But if you look at this whole GHG emission, the climate change, is basically last 250 years, maybe 300 years work. And if you look at the figure, just go at anything, the way our energy usage has gone up, and you see it going up exponentially, up, and up. And it has reached a level where the earth is getting destroyed. And this is happening when per capita consumption in country like India, whole of Africa, is very, very low. If they start getting out of poverty and even start doing the average consumption, the earth would have been destroyed before that. India and then Africa. So what is the imperative? My feeling is if that continues, and as India and Africa also start developing, and it keeps on going up, no technology will be able to fix things. And that's where the third important task comes. It's a the only way I can understand is that you don't consume as much. Why do you need to consume as much? Does that higher consumption necessarily make your life better? Does it make it a happier life? Are we using the most energy efficient, or are we wasting energy? Can we simplify our lives? For example, I'll give you one example. Today in Chennai, very often many people who come from their office to home takes 1 hour, 1.25 hours each way. Worst situation in Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad is moving in that direction. You are spending 2.5 hours on road per day. Is that the good life? Los Angeles is even worse. Is that the life considered that we are advancing? Is that advancement? So the question that I'm asking, can we get anyone from their home to office in a very comfortable manner in 20 minutes and using only green technology, green energy? I think those are important challenges that we need to do. I'm not saying the life has to be uncomfortable, but comfortable life, good life has nothing to do with more and more and more energy consumption. And this is something that even from our Indian ethos, we need to understand. And our life cannot be the way the current life is. And this is a big challenge. Can there be startups which can start working in that direction? I think I have no clue. So I'm talking about 3 very different kind of startups. First, the technology. Simple, those who bring green energy, deploy green energy, green technology, more energy efficient, etc. The first is that. Second is those who will help in transition management. One will say this is more a policy domain, but I think it is a startups which will play an important role. We have to think differently. And the third is those who make life simpler and say it will be a simpler life using less energy and happier life. That's what is needed, and I hope this CLIMAFIX, last year it did a great job, this time it is becoming bigger, and I hope it will get us there. Thank you very much.
We thank you, sir, for the keynote address. Your views on climate tech was indeed insightful. Now I request everyone to come on stage for group photo. Ashok, Jhunjhunwala, IITM, Narsimhan, EAI, Satya Seshadri from IITM Energy Consortium, Nikhil Tambe from IITM Energy Consortium, and Nitish Sairam from Illumine.